Entelechy, Verse 1, Chapter 5. Team collaboration begins. Rebuilder, Rex called out excitedly. He was sitting at the edge of the shallow pond, watching Rebuilder and Echo work together to construct a small hut-like structure. Yeah. Rebuilder looked up briefly from its task. I'm gonna help you! Ugh. Sure thing. Buddy! There will be plenty to do once we get everything going. Ved halt. Rebuilder resumed its current task, attaching a large vine bundle to another to form the frame of a wall. Don't you want me to start working right away? Of course. But first, Rebuilder reached down toward its metal leg and pulled something off, holding it out to Rex. It was a long silver rod, capped at both ends. Here, this should suit you well. Ugh. What's this? Rex asked curiously as he took hold of it. It's a tool that extends your reach, Rebuilder explained. You'll see how handy it can be when you're doing some heavy lifting for us. Rex nodded, examining the item closely. He then placed the thin end of the rod inside his mouth and held it firmly there. A holographic interface appeared just above the other end. Whoa, he uttered in awe. He moved his head around slightly, and the cursor followed along with it. Pretty cool. He smiled widely and looked over at Tricera. Hey, Mama, look. Ah! That looks amazing, sweetie. She smiled back warmly. But remember, safety comes first. Vashin. He nodded eagerly, placing the tool down next to him gently so it didn't fall into the water. All right then, Rebuilder announced. It pointed behind itself with its clawed hand. Let's go get started. Come on over here with your sister and let's discuss our roles. Rex quickly got to his feet and hurried over, Triceratops trailing close behind. Patera flew overhead, surveying their surroundings carefully. First things first. We need to stay organized if we're going to complete anything efficiently, Rebuilder began. Since everyone is very different in terms of capabilities and physical attributes, we have to assign each person, or I mean Dino, to a role based on their best traits. We will need someone who can watch for potential dangers that may come our way during our various activities. This person would also act as a scout of sorts. They can fly up high in the air and spot trouble coming long before anyone else could. Ah! Me! Me! Tara shouted from above. I'll be your eyes in the sky. Friends! Everyone laughed at her enthusiasm, even though she wasn't sure why they were laughing. That was fine. As long as she made people happy. The second role involves transporting resources and material across great distances, since this person will require a lot of endurance and will carry quite a bit of weight regularly. Bronto seems perfect for the job. She perked up immediately, puffing out her chest with pride. So I'll be like your courier? I really think that suits me perfectly. I love being involved with all kinds of chores. Now don't forget about my boy here, Tricera added with a smile. He's stronger than most adults his age. I believe that makes him fit for the third job, which is the heaviest lifting. How does that sound, baby? He beamed brightly as he bounced up and down a little, clearly excited at the prospect of doing heavy labor. Yeah! want to lift stuff. He picked up the silver rod again. I've already got my tool ready. Boh. Perfect. Rebuilder continued. Then that leaves me and Echo with a few odd jobs. We can handle construction, repairs, maintenance, and possibly some light programming duties. Oh, and cooking. Yay! Yay! Pera cheered gleefully. Rebuilder turned to look directly at the green dino standing quietly nearby. And finally, we have you left. Mr. Steggy, since you're not too interested in actually moving around much, I figured you'd be ideal for the final position. Oh! Oh! What is that? He asked nervously. Well, basically, you'd serve as a sort of manager, I suppose you could say. When issues arise among the group, you would take responsibility for solving those problems or mediate the situation until everyone is happy again. He pondered this deeply. Finally, he gave a nod. Very well. I am honored to serve in this way, although I am unsure whether others will agree with me, since I have been known to cause quarrels amongst us, especially with that pesky crocodile. Ugh. If I may interject. Echo spoke calmly. Everyone turned toward it expectantly. There is still much about our history yet to be uncovered, but I feel confident saying that in many ways, Stegosaurus was considered the wisest dinosaur during the Cretaceous period. Vale. Steggy glanced over toward Echo, clearly surprised to hear this. Wait, is that true? Rex asked, sounding intrigued by the possibility of learning something completely new about the past. Perhaps the most important part. Rebuilder continued, trying to avoid giving away too many details regarding the timeline. Is that Steggy's wisdom can only truly shine when surrounded by those who trust and respect it. Sass, who think you to take the... So in short, Tricera cut in. All you got to do is play nice with everyone. If you don't argue with Skeptic anymore, he might listen to you eventually. Oh! Or kill him. Rex muttered quietly under his breath. I'm sure it's an accident waiting to happen. Mana! Steggy shot him a disapproving glare. Young man, please refrain from speaking in such manners. I assure you it is unbecoming of a king. Sorry. He lowered his gaze submissively. Rebuida chuckled lightly at this display. As you guys figure this stuff out, we'll go ahead and start building ourselves a home, a shelter to call our own. Steggy scratched the back of his neck. Ah! Very good then. He gazed over at the area surrounding them thoughtfully. When finished, perhaps it could resemble one of those ancient stone structures I read about. Voh. Sounds good to me. Echo replied cheerily. Enteleshi, Verse 1, Chapter 6, Exploring the New Surroundings. After finishing their meal, they decided to go out and explore this strange new land. Their first priority was scouting nearby areas for water sources, food, shelter materials, or other resources needed for survival. To begin with, Rebuilder activated its scanning system and started mapping out the surroundings. Rebuilder, get ready for a long walk. Omega ordered, keeping its laser gun ready at all times just in case they encountered anything dangerous along the way. As they ventured forth, Rex felt a wave of dizziness coming over him. Before he knew it, his body began to convulse violently. Without warning, he fell unconscious mid-step right there in front of everyone. His sudden collapse caused his friends to scream and panic. Rex! Tricera cried out. Number? No. Not again! Per exclaimed in shock. I couldn't hear a thing except for some faint whispering voices inside my mind. Those voices were familiar yet unidentifiable, like something from a distant dream. Suddenly, I found myself floating in complete darkness with nothing around except for those whispering voices growing louder each passing second. What happened? Echo asked. I don't know, Tricera replied. We saw him convulsing before he collapsed. Quickly check if he is alive, Pyrrha urged nervously. Their concern helped bring me back to consciousness. Opening my eyes slowly, I noticed my friends surrounding me as I lay motionless on the ground. Ouch. A deep pain shot through my head as memories flooded back from when I was transformed into a cyborg by Omega and Echo. He woke up. Tricera shouted excitedly. It seems he suffered a minor overload because of his rapid growth, Rebuilder explained. Let me conduct some tests. Oop. After taking several scans, Rebuilder informed us. His vitals have stabilized. Are you okay? Pera asked anxiously while gently caressing my face. I nodded quietly, even though every part of my body still ached terribly. I told you that you weren't ready yet, Rebuilder remarked. You'll need at least another week of rest and recovery. And miss out on exploring. That's impossible! But what if your condition worsens? Heck! No worries. I can handle it. Despite what others said, I wanted badly to join them on this adventure. Seeing how stubborn and determined I am, they finally gave up, trying to persuade me otherwise. We continued walking toward a small hill overlooking the plain below, where numerous dinosaur species roamed freely. Wow. There sure are many types of dinos here, aren't there? Tricera observed curiously. And look! There goes another herd of Edmontosaurus! Indeed. Echo agreed as she pointed towards the horizon. If I'm correct based on fossil records, it should be early, late Cretaceous period. If only we had a clearer picture of Earth's geological timeline from our side. Just as we were about to cross a shallow creek bed, an explosion suddenly rocked the ground beneath us. Before anyone could react, a massive tail came crashing down directly onto me. Crack! Bear! The blow hit me so hard, it knocked half of my body straight into the air. As if struck by lightning, I instantly lost consciousness once more. Ah! Rex! Vor! When I regained control of my senses, I realized I'd been blasted far away from the original location. Looking behind me, I saw that the rest of the team was nowhere to be seen. Damn it. Why did I have to leave them during such critical moments? My first thought was to immediately rush back to rejoin them. But then, I spotted 4 large Tyrannosaur shadows standing high atop a cliff across the valley. 4 Tyrannosaurs! What the hell? This isn't funny at all. fearing they might be corrupted and attack my friends next. I hesitated briefly before starting to sprint forward without hesitation, despite feeling woozy. However, seconds after I took off running, another deafening roar reverberated from somewhere in front of me. The sheer force nearly stopped my heart entirely. It seemed I wasn't alone out here after all. Turning slightly to avoid stepping too close to the edge of the cliff, I saw a familiar silhouette emerge from behind a cluster of rocks nearby. The monstrous creature appeared to be a gigantic Spinosaurus. With sharp teeth bared, the carnivore lunged at me ferociously, clearly aiming for my throat. Shit! Run away! I tried calling out internally. Before I managed to dodge completely, the beast caught hold of one leg firmly in its jaws. In turn, I instinctively swung my free arm directly at the monster's neck, using all my remaining strength. Unfortunately, the Spinosaurus's skin proved far tougher than anticipated, and the blow barely fazed it. Instead of releasing me, its grip tightened harder until I felt searing pain radiating throughout my entire lower limb. Not good. Gotta fight fire with fire! Activating my shield generator, I created a makeshift barrier around my captured leg to protect it from further damage. Simultaneously, I turned on my plasma blade generator and sliced cleanly through the creature's forearm with a sizzling glow. Thump! The severed limb dropped heavily onto the ground, causing fresh blood to spurt wildly everywhere. Ah! The wounded predator bellowed in rage. This distraction bought enough time for Rex to yank his leg free before retreating several steps backward. Meanwhile, the Spinosaurus stared at its spurting wound with utter disbelief written all over its reptilian features. Why would it be stunned instead of attacking back? Suddenly, a terrifying realization dawned upon Rex. Was it perhaps infected by the same oceanic curse as well? Now things really got complicated fast. While distracted by this new revelation, Rex failed to notice a shadowy figure swiftly approaching from behind. A fraction of a second later, someone grabbed both sides of his skull tightly. Creak! Creak! Get off me, you bastard! Without wasting a beat, Rex delivered a series of powerful punches to whoever dared assault him. It seemed to work, since the assailant backed away almost instantly with a loud thud nearby. Shaking his head vigorously, he quickly checked his surroundings through his rear camera. There stood none other than the very same Spinosaurus he'd injured earlier. Now, sporting, glowing red eyes filled with madness rather than pain. Its mouth opened wide, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth dripping greenish mucus. Clearly corrupted by whatever plague affected the oceans. Meanwhile, 4 more Tyrannosaurus Rex emerged slowly from the foggy distance. Each bore similar red-eyed expressions devoid of sanity. Great. Things were going from bad to worse. Now he's surrounded on both flanks. Talk about being cornered, huh? Fortunately, Rebuilder and the others eventually showed up too. They must have heard his screams. Upon seeing their arrival, the Spinoraptors didn't waste another second charging in their direction. Their situation rapidly deteriorated as additional creatures joined forces alongside the corrupted dinosaurs. Dilophosaurus, Struthiomimus, Carnotaurus, and even a few ornitholistids. These monsters closed in on them relentlessly, forcing him to focus solely on evading blows, while simultaneously attempting to take advantage of openings whenever possible. Using his enhanced reflexes, he narrowly dodged attacks left and right. At one point, A Spinosaurus caught sight of his friends behind him and lunged forward without hesitation, knocking him aside effortlessly. Unable to regain balance properly, he tumbled uncontrollably several meters until his body smashed squarely against a massive boulder with a sickening crack echoing through the air. Oof. Damn it. Wait. As he struggled to rise back up on shaky legs, a Dilophosaurus jumped straight towards him, only to be intercepted halfway through by one of Rebuilder's energy bolts. What? Luckily, this brief respite allowed him to steady himself adequately before rejoining the fight without further interruptions. Just then, Pertra swooped low from above, grabbing a stray T-Rex by its horns before hurling it away into the brush below. Then Steggy joined in by slamming her fearsome spike-covered tail directly into the skull of another oncoming monster. Boom! Its body crumpled instantaneously under the devastating impact before tumbling limply over. Even though their enemies kept pouring out seemingly indefinitely, the combined efforts of their little team gradually tipped the scales in their favor. More and more corrupted creatures ended up defeated as they worked harmoniously to repel wave after wave of attackers. Eventually, after clearing the final batch of opponents, their crew collectively slumped onto the dirt, panting heavily. Adrenaline faded, leaving only exhaustion behind. Despite the victory, he knew this wouldn't solve anything permanently. We're safe for now. He exhaled sharply while sitting down beside a puddle. Yes, good job, everyone. Tricera praised breathlessly before turning to address him directly. So, you're really okay? Well, apart from being extremely tired. You fool. You were almost eaten alive by these monsters. Fool. Their numbers seemed endless. I bet they came from the nearby river or swamp nearby, Echo stated matter-of-factly. They may not be fully corrupted, but definitely possessed by something evil, Rebuilder added. What do you mean? Para questioned. Instead of answering outright, Rebuilder simply walked over to examine one of the fallen bodies closely and scanned its internal organs through its robotic hand. There. See that dark green liquid flowing in these veins? After showing the results on a holographic screen, it concluded, these creatures' blood and flesh bear traces of the same contaminant we faced back home. Only difference being, these hosts have somehow adapted better, allowing them to retain partial rational control over their actions, unlike the monsters from our original timeline. After hearing everything, Patera shook her head sadly. That explains why they didn't fully transform into nightmarish abominations like the ones we fought yesterday. But is there any way to help them before they descend into pure insanity? Not likely at current stage. Rebuilder, answered bluntly. Best chance remains preventing contamination from spreading further. Oof. In that case, what shall we do about these carcasses lying around here? Steggy wondered aloud. We'll bury 'em deep underground, just in case they regenerate. I offered. Yes, good idea. Echo agreed. Upon saying that, Rebuilder quickly retrieved a pair of shovels hidden within its toolbox, handing one each to Tricera and me. With my cybernetics, digging holes required mere minutes compared to manual labor. Soon we completed the task, successfully laying dozens of deceased monsters 6 feet under to minimize risk. Finally, after settling everything down, I asked curiously, "By the way, guys, what exactly happened back there when that huge Spinosaurus attacked?" At mention of that incident, Rebuilder cleared its voice and spoke solemnly. "Sorry, guys. We made an error judgment regarding the safety of this place prior to departure. While analyzing ancient fossils, scientists discovered certain species shared uncanny similarities with corrupted monsters." Wait. So we've come across these creatures before? Pera interrupted abruptly. "Yeah, we've identified their existence through fossilized remains from millions years ago, yet never expected to encounter them today, especially considering time travel aspect. Anyway, moving on. Based on analysis data obtained so far, these Spinosaurids should be native inhabitants of rivers or swamps, unlike traditional theropods. Which means it must have adapted to aquatic lifestyle, or at least semi-aquatic lifestyle. Steggy chimed in thoughtfully. Correct. Which also means there should be numerous others swimming around nearby. Rebuilder cautioned us. The same goes for most other river-dwelling predators as well. Echo warned, pointing towards several pairs of muddy footprints visible amidst the undergrowth bordering our vicinity. Great. Just great. Sighing heavily, I couldn't hide the disappointment weighing down my spirits anymore. Despite having fled to a supposed safe haven, we remained trapped within reach of threats, lurking unseen nearby. How much longer will luck continue smiling upon us anyway? At this rate, even the slightest mistake might spell disaster. As if reading my thoughts, Rebuilder placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder gently. Don't worry, Rex. Everything will turn out all right in the end. Oh. Really? How can you say that? Because we've prepared contingencies just in case situations grow dire. Contingency plan, such as Zog. Should things progress out of control, we can always fall back upon our secondary objective, securing a suitable location safe from harm for long-term survival until rescue arrives. Rescue? Oh. Yes. Remember, we were sent here primarily to gather crucial data regarding timeline divergence outcomes. Once gathered, we merely activate beacon device to summon backup vessel containing cryogenic pods housing frozen human colonists. Oh yeah, I totally forgot about those details earlier. Precisely. Even if circumstances grow truly dire. All hope isn't necessarily lost. Plus, you're forgetting the most important factor of all. We possess several advantages these corrupted creatures lack. Like what? First, we don't succumb to physical aging effects. Second, we can upgrade ourselves continuously, using spare parts scavenged from corpses. And thirdly, we share mental connection, enabling real-time information sharing capabilities. True. Very true indeed. Whir. Smiling faintly, Rebuilder patted my head affectionately. So basically, as long as we remain alert, vigilant, and stick together no matter what, worst-case scenario remains manageable. Growing calmer thanks to Rebuilder's words, I glanced over at Trisura, who looked equally relieved by recent revelations. We must try our hardest not give up before reaching absolute bottom limit. Isn't that right, guys? Nodding in agreement, the others exchanged glances, signaling determination regardless outcome ahead. Okay, let's move onward carefully and hope for best. Bah.